Alienware finally made a thin and light gaming laptop, and it was worth the wait. For years, Dell's gaming brand has been pumping out powerful but hefty gaming machines. The Alienware M15, though, is its first step towards a truly modern laptop design. And it's here just in time. Throughout 2018, we saw companies like ASUS, Razer, and MSI all deliver thin new machines of their own. The M15 is assigned Alienware won't be left behind. The Alienware M15 weighs 4.8 pounds and is 18 millimeters thick. That's a huge improvement over Alienware's earlier batch of notebooks, which are the sort of things only gamers could love. They're seriously heavy. The last 15-inch model weighed 7.7 pounds, and even the 13-inch version clocked in at almost 6. One reason for their heft was Alienware's huge cooling setup, which stuck out behind the displays like they were venting hot rods. Back when gaming laptops were clocking in closer to 10 pounds, Alienware's design seemed like they were on the cutting edge. And for the most part, it made sense to focus more on cooling than portability. But times have changed. Now gaming notebooks can be both powerful and portable. Even though it's a massive step forward for Alienware though, the M15 still lags a bit behind the competition when it comes to weight. The MSI GS65 Stealth Thin, for example, has similar specs but is noticeably lighter at 4.2 pounds. Still, it's nice to see Alienware playing in the under 5-pound arena. This is also its first notebook to feature really thin screen bezels, another major trend in gaming machines from last year. Unfortunately, there are still some hefty bezels at the top and bottom of the 15.6-inch display, which makes it look a little dated. On the whole, the M15 still looks distinctly Alienware, just toned down quite a bit. The magnesium alloy case is smooth and solid, and aside from some stylized speaker grills, a small LED Alienware logo on the back, and lights on the keyboard, there's really not too much extraneous bling. It's a surprisingly subtle design, which also makes the M15 a better fit in offices and classrooms than other Alienware notebooks. But really, if you're getting this machine, you're mainly concerned with games. And not surprisingly, the M15 is more than capable. Our review model included the NVIDIA GTX 1070 Max-Q, an Intel Core i7-8750H CPU, 60 GB of RAM, and an NVMe SSD, as well as a 1080p 144Hz screen. It was pretty much built to push games to their limit at that resolution. While playing Overwatch with ultra graphics settings, I saw between 110 and 130 frames per second. And in Forza Horizon 4's benchmark, it reached an average of 77 FPS in 1080p with ultra settings. If you need more GPU power, you can also plug in Alienware's custom amplifier into the back of the M15 and tap into a desktop graphics card. You can choose from 1080p and 4K screens with a 60Hz refresh rate, or if you're more interested in high frame rates, there's also a 1080p 144Hz version. The 4K screen is the better choice if you're concerned about color accuracy though, since it covers 100% of the sRGB gamut, compared to just 72% on the 1080p monitor. With the high refresh rate display, the M15 can easily handle frame rates up to 144 FPS smoothly, without any of the hiccups you'd see on slower standard screens. It also helps that everything simply looks great on the display, from the raindrops against the camera while racing Forza, to the mayhem of huge Destiny 2 and Overwatch firefights. Thanks to Dell's display expertise, it's a great notebook for watching video too, though it's not as comfortable as true ultra portables when you're lounging on the couch. Even though Alienware had to move away from its huge exhaust cooling, the M15 still managed to stay under 85 Celsius while I was gaming. It did a solid job of pushing out heat, only the bottom back of the machine got too hot to touch after a play session. Just be sure to let the M15 cool down before you put it on your lap. The company didn't disappoint when it comes to ports either. There are 3 USB 3.0 connections and a gigabit Ethernet port with a drop-down latch on the sides, as well as HDMI, mini DisplayPort, and USB-C with Thunderbolt 3 on the back. And while it's strange to say this about a gaming notebook, I also really like the Alienware M15's keyboard and trackpad. Typing felt great, and the trackpad was smooth and accurate. It did a great job of differentiating between left and right clicks. We found that notebook makers sometimes skimp on these components, like with MSI's Stealth Thin, which had an incredibly stiff trackpad. They probably figure users are relying on mice most of the time, but you still need a good trackpad for productivity apps. With the optional 90 watt/hour battery, the Alienware M15 delivered battery life on par with other thin gaming notebooks. In our benchmark, which involved looping in HD video until the power ran out, it lasted 8.5 hours, while Razer's Blade lasted 20 minutes longer. In everyday use, the M15 kept going between 4 and 5 hours, but of course, playing any games would drain that even quicker. That battery is a $50 upgrade over the standard 60 watt/hour unit, and it's a no-brainer at that price. The only major downgrade I noticed compared to Dell's larger Alienware machines was sound. Its speakers are pretty loud, but they're tinny. At least they're better than most other thin gaming notebooks at least. The Alienware M15 starts at $1,380 with an NVIDIA GTX 1060, 8GB of RAM, and a 1080p 60Hz screen and that lower battery capacity. At the very least, I'd suggest shelling out for 16GB of RAM, a 128GB SSD alongside the 1TB hybrid drive, and the larger battery, which altogether adds another $290. And if you want the more powerful GTX 1070 Max-Q GPU, tack on another $200. But if you're doing that, you should also bump the display beyond 60Hz, and wait until the end of this month and you'll also get your choice of NVIDIA's new RTX 20 series GPUs. This is the problem for gamers, it's tough to tell when to stop speccing up. Once you've sorted out the M15's pricing though, it'll still likely come in cheaper than the MSI GS65, which starts around $1,800 with the GTX 1060. The new Razer Blade, which is the most polished gaming notebook we've seen recently, starts at $1,900 and quickly gets more expensive as you upgrade. Overall, the Alienware M15 is a better value than most other gaming laptops. It's not as light as MSI's, and it's not as sleek as the Blade, but it's powerful and attractive enough for any gamer who wants a more portable gaming rig.